It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Tennessee Titans have made it official, the hiring of Chad Brinker as assistant general manager. Spent the last 13 years with the Green Bay Packers, most recently as personnel and football administration executive. In a statement, Titans general manager Rand Carthon says Chad brings a unique skill set to our franchise. He has touched every facet of the personnel department, working in pro personnel, college scouting, cap management, and analytics. Coaching moves around the NFL and in the AFC South. The Colts have their man, making it official this morning. Former Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen will officially replace the fired Frank Reich. And the Baltimore Ravens hiring their replacement for offensive coordinator Greg Roman. Todd Monken, the former OC out of Georgia, will call plays for Baltimore. Meanwhile, Kirby Smart elevating his former teammate Mike Bobo from his offensive analyst role to be the new OC at UGA. The Las Vegas Raiders expected to make the release of quarterback Derek Carr official this afternoon. The 31-year-old has received interest from the New Orleans Saints, but is expected to visit with multiple teams. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Gentlemen, ladies, you got plenty of time still. It's early yet. You can get all your stuff on the way home. If you haven't gotten anything yet, you're set to go. So just giving you a little gentle reminder there that you can pick some stuff up if you need to on the way home today, and make that
you
event
way
special
late
for somebody. I'm just telling it, everybody that it's still there.
Oh,
so.
man. I was early this year. I celebrated this weekend, and I just gave Carden and chocolate covered strawberries today. Yeah, so I was on top of it when I
Sherry's
was dinner.
berries. Remember back in the day?
Yeah, she said something about that too. No,
you had to have sold more of those things than any human
Sherry
being
berries.
in history. Yes.
I was on top of that one. Yeah, so,
For years.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Also, happy, I believe it would be number 50th birthday to the late, great Steve McNair.
Air. Yeah, no doubt. Happy B-Day. Air McNair. The toughest son of a gun I've ever played with or even seen. Man, instant respect there amongst our opponents for sure. It was Eddie George and Air mixed in one person. Just a dude you don't want to be tackled to. He has a big cannon of an arm. So, yeah. Prayers up, my man, Air. And to his family, yeah.
For sure. Born in 1973, so 50th would be his 50th birthday. Be really cool if he was still around to see everything. Be really cool if he could be around to experience all this stuff. I mean, I'm just somebody who sat in the stands and watched him play. You got to be his friend and his teammate, but, well, he's missed by a lot of people. That dude, missed by a lot of people, for sure. 50th birthday. Happy birthday, Steve McNair. Also, happy Valentine's Day today. So the Titans just made this official. Got an email. The assistant GM, Blaine, has been hired, Brinker.
Oh, yeah.
That dude's – did you get a chance by any chance to read through any – he has literally done everything job.
In the front office.
Oh, my gosh, everything. This was a fantastic hire, at least on paper, because he has all the credentials of everything.
Well, if you were the enemy, they'd use it against you. So that means you're not good at one thing. You just know a little bit about everything. I said if you were the enemy. Nah, just kidding, man. That, bringing in someone who's got experience at every little thing, not little, but thing in the front office is always going to be valuable. So, I'm interested to see how it plays out. And if that affect any of the people in the office. When I say that, I'm referring to, does that change roles? Does someone leave or let go? Or do you just, everything's the same and he's just maybe a step above them, and he's somewhat the boss of everybody else besides Rand.
It's interesting to me because when the season ends, if a player's going to get cut, he gets cut. If they're going to fire a coach, they fire the coach. Scouting staffs always stay together, though. They basically hinted and basically said, we won't start messing with the scouting department until after the draft. We'll keep these guys intact and run them through this draft this year, so they don't necessarily go their separate ways.
Well, they're also replacing the guy that went to Arizona.
Yep, Monty Ossenfort. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it could just slide right in that role, and then everything keeps it moving. Yeah, you're right about the scouting department. That it very rarely changes. Guys are there for years.
And it's
maybe their roles change, but as far as scouting, yeah.
And it's interesting because they say, well, we got our own language and we got our own way of recording things and writing things down and our own system of what we call everything. But I've always thought about this. If a team wanted to hire you as a scout, I mean, if you're a scout, let's say, now you may be pro personnel or you may be college personnel, so you'd be scouting, possible free agents, or if you're a guy who's scouting the college side, you'd be. But if you were scouting the college draft for the Cardinals, let's say, and the Titans were like, man, we'd really like to hire this guy, but we should probably wait. I mean, you're already scouting all the same people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd have to learn the language. This is what we call this, and this is how we score this and score that. But that was always interesting to me because they said, yeah, scouts don't typically, if they're going to leave, they don't typically leave until after the draft, even if the other things change. Like in this case, the Titans have a new GM and a new assistant GM, but they usually keep people in place. I always thought this is so odd. They're all scouting the same people. I mean, I could just come to your place and keep scouting them. I was scouting them wherever I was before. I'll just scout them for you.
But the difference is their eye. Their eye as a scout may be different than someone else's you have. That's why it's so subjective when picking players, and that's why you see some guys that are later round picks that do really well, and then some guys who don't. Or, you could just like Will Levis is kind of this big conversation, and threw a lot of interceptions his last season there at Kentucky. But his profile and his measurables and all his traits tell you with good coaching, he will have success in this league. Big arm, athletic, and can run. So that's what they're looking at. And so I wouldn't be shocked like if he went number one. Like that, like I wouldn't. Because you're sitting in there meeting, and a guy like me, if I'm sitting in there, I'm going, but did y'all watch him throw those interceptions? They're going to say, well, no, we'll coach that out of him. Or it was poor coaching, or he didn't have good receivers. Josh Allen, that's what they said about him and his big arm, right? He still went high in the draft, or first-round pick. So they're looking at traits, and that's how you miss on some of these big-time first-round talents, because they are super talented. I'm not going to take away from Levis or anybody else in any other position because they're super talented. That don't mean they're going to have a lot of success. And sometimes those guys who are super talented like that, everything has been easy. And then you get into elite, and it's not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. And so if you don't turn that corner of work ethic and trying to be the best player you can be with your talent and continue to grow, I think you could have some issues. The guy that's a really good player can get you. I'm not necessarily talking about a quarterback, but any position. So those things happen all the time. I mean, we could look straight, at the Titans. At one linebacker went first round from Alabama, and then literally 3 years later, the backup that was, Big 12 Player of the Year was a better player. Mm. And you go, well, he didn't meet any of the measurables, and he was nowhere near the athlete.
Right.
But he was the better pro player. See, so those things happen. So that's because they're looking for the traits, size, measurables, speed, all these things. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. I think it has to do with a lot of the mental capability of the actual player. That, as well as eye control. And when I say eye control, I'm talking about as the speed of the game. We're sitting on our couch, and it's real easy to say, oh, man, he should have done this or that. Mm-hmm. But in the game, things are moving a lot faster than they were in college. So does his eyes adjust to the level of speed that he's seeing? And sometimes there's no equation to it, that they adapt to the speed of the game. Some guys can and some guys can't. I can tell you from personal experience, my first game, it looked like people would run right by me, and I couldn't even tell you their number. By third start of my career, that thing was slowing down, and I could start seeing numbers, seeing formations, the plays developing, passing routes forming, and it kind of gradually, and then that's when I knew I was on to something. I knew, I can be pretty good here. But the first time I was out there, I was like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say a starter. Those things, man, I didn't see a number, like numbers of receivers, and it was moving fast. Yeah. So that is what happens. And that, just imagine if you're a quarterback which you got the ball in your hand. I didn't have the ball in my hand. And all these things now are moving at lightning speed. And then when does it gradually start slowing down to back to like was in college? Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And I wish I had the answer to that. I'd be a rich mofo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if I had the answer. So that, that happens. So, we shall see. Like, some people may not take Bryce Young, and I think he's the most talented because he's small.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, his durability will be a question, and, they may be right. But he is magical. I can tell you that. I didn't watch a lot of Sherrod, the guy at Ohio State, but he did well in the the Final Four game.
Mm-hmm.
So he, I got to watch him there, but that was just one game, but he definitely stepped up. So, we shall see where all this goes. But, yeah, scouting it's not an exact science, but there are certain telltales that you lean on to help you. And to me, it's always what you see on the tape. But, they ignore that, for these super-duper athletes. They're like, he's still really good. Did you see where he ran that 40? He ran a 4.28. He ran a 4.34, just like Lucas. So, yeah. I can go on a rant about that because there's always debates, and, you'll get half of them right and half of them wrong. It is insane how sometimes I looked at the player at one time, and I was like, I don't think he's going to be that good. Then all of a sudden you get in the pros, and all of a sudden you kept seeing each and every week, every season, this guy's getting better. You go, dang, man, he's turned out to be all right. So nobody's batting 100%. That's why I said it's so hard to judge a GM. Mm-hmm. What is the measuring stick to judge a GM of success? And I don't like the part that, because the team is winning. Is he winning with the actual players, or did he supplement that with, let's say, now with all these guys you could pick up and bring into your roster? To me, so it's hard to determine. It really is, because there's parts of me could say JR was successful at what he did, but then he had some gaps too. Well, you're gonna have some. Mm-hmm. You just shouldn't be gasping on first round picks. And I know a lot of people gonna say the AJ Brown trade, but that wasn't a big deal for me. The big deal for me was what you decided to do to replace him. Not just Burks, but you brought in an injured veteran player. Can't do for me. You got to know how much impact that he had on this team, and it's going to take two people, and I mean healthy people.
Right.
So you're going to make that move. I get it. You don't want to pay him. All right, cool. What we doing to supplement his production?
Well, they didn't supplement his production.
Nah, it's pretty obvious. He almost had 100 in the Super Bowl and the loss.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then, don't get me on this rant. I'm already perturbed. This, guy that got hired there, I don't want to mispronounce his name, with the Colts. Deservingly so. They had a success, but was he making calls? I said this the other day. Mm-hmm. He was not making calls. And now, not to say he won't be a good head coach.
Right.
But, they use it when they want to. Owners can, but then Eric Bieniemy get an interview. So I don't know if he's just a horrible interview. The things that happened to him years ago, I don't know if that really factors in. I don't know, something about him that people don't like. Maybe they just can't relate to him, or don't like the way he interviews. I have no idea, but we can come up with these excuses I want to. I told you before, quarterbacks, coaches are getting called. People with no experience calling plays are getting it. Doesn't matter, man. You can make up any excuse you want to. I just love how they just spin it.
Steichen has only been an NFL coach at any level since like 2011.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me, because the NFL are trends by owners. You can tell. They're going with young head coaches, offensive-minded head coaches. Young offensive-minded head coaches. Not everybody, but even if they go defensive coordinator to head coach, which is a totally different job, by the way, calling plays to now being a leader of men. That's a totally different skill set to me. So, yeah, that's kind of been the trendy deal. These guys are, more relatable to the players maybe at, 35, 40. I mean, that's going on all over the place. Yeah. It's unfortunate, though, because some guys deserve a shot, or maybe even a second shot, like Wilkes, who I thought did a really good job with the Panthers. They're halfway through the season. So, but it will continue, trust. Because it's, you can't tell the owners who to hire.
I wonder if it just becomes for Bieniemy You're just going to have to wait in Kansas City till Andy retires and try to get that job. And people always talk about Andy. Andy's only 64. I mean, he could go.
He could go for.
He could go on and on.
6 more years, yeah,
especially if he keeps Spagnola and he keeps Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, and those guys who he's comfortable with. I even see Rick Burkhalter, who's the trainer, who was there at Philly when I was there. So there's other people on the staff, support staff, strength and conditioning. You know, there's all kind of people all over the place. So yeah, if I was Bieniemy, I would stay because I want to prove a point. Mm-hmm. Yep, just let it keep on happening and marinating.
Just keep on piling up those rings. Bob Fescoe, who covers the Chiefs for 6:10 a.m. in Kansas City, apparently slept through our segment yesterday. It had been a long night the night before. We're going to effort him again.
That was a convenient excuse. We got to make sure that was true.
Convenient excuse. So he's out of excuses. Let's hope he is on the air next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Big party going on in Kansas City. This guy was so caught up in it yesterday, he just partied his way through our appearance, Bob Fescoe. He joins us now, the host of Fescoe in the Morning, 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City. Bob, son of a gun, man. The Chiefs did it again. Congratulations.
Well, and thank you, and I apologize for yesterday. I just felt I sat down on the couch and I was like, I was out after that game. People don't realize winning takes a lot out of you when you don't do anything.
Man. I completely understand that. That's for sure.
I've been fortunate enough to get to Kansas City and see football games, some covering the Titans and as part of this deal, and just went years ago just to see Arrowhead Stadium. And I can remember that lone Super Bowl flag that hung in the end zone, and I'm a big historian, so I love those Chiefs teams and Lenny Dawson and Hank Stram, and so many of those people are in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. But son of a gun, man, 3 more Super Bowls in the last 4 years, 2 of which the Chiefs have won. Andy Reid has really messed around and has just completely built something fantastic there.
Well, he really has. I mean, the last 5 years have been nothing short of incredible. Yeah. And I don't see why we're hearing people debate, is this a dynasty or not? I mean, you find a 5-year run like this anywhere in the NFL.
Sure
I mean, it's been just absolutely incredible and insane. So, yeah, this is a dynasty, and you mentioned the right guy. It's Andy Reid and it's Patrick Mahomes. And without those two guys, we're not sitting here having this conversation. We're probably talking about picking somewhere in the middle of the draft or whatever it is. But Andy Reid's a difference maker, and you guys saw it on Sunday night too. He schooled those guys, and just as you called, I was getting ready to send out a tweet that Arizona hired the defensive coordinator of the Eagles. I mean, did they not watch the second half of that game?
Well, luckily they don't have to play the Chiefs every week, so they maybe they think they've got something figured out. I think a lot of people, Bob Fescoe, our guest, I think a lot of people, Bob, thought, well, maybe Andy's going to win this thing and just wave his way off into the sunset. Maybe that's not the case though, just yet.
No, not yet. I think, I don't understand why everybody's wanting to push Andy out the door. He's 64 years old. He'll be 65 in March, so he's approaching 65. But Bill Belichick's like 70, and he's up in New England, and nobody's saying he needs to see the door. And Andy Reid has coached circles around that guy over the last couple of years. And so I just think, why are we trying to push Andy Reid away? He is so good for the NFL. There aren't many good coaches in this league. All the guys that were hired this offseason in 3 years, I bet you there's one of those guys left that is still in their current position as the head coach. I think Arizona's now on their 4th or 5th head coach since they had an opportunity to hire Andy Reid some 10 years ago when the Chiefs ended up doing it. So these coaches in this league are a dime a dozen. There aren't many good ones, and when you get a good one, man, you hang on for dear life and never let him go. And that's kind of where we are with Andy Reid right now. He's one of a handful of legit good coaches in the NFL.
The Hunt family needs to definitely send him a nice fruit basket filled with cheeseburgers or something to keep it happy.
Right.
At
or
Bob
cash,
Fescoe,
or cash, either way.
He'll take cash too. At Bob Fescoe, our guest. Fescoe in the Morning, 610 Sports Radio, Kansas City.
Yeah, I couldn't be more happy, Bob, for Andy Reid doing it again, being a former player for him and the Eagles. And, man, what an exceptional human being. But I want to know, have you found out, what did they say at halftime? Because, boy, they sure look like they came out a different team after half. What do you say?
Yeah. They really did, and what I've been saying on my show is what halftime was roughly 30 minutes or whatever it was. You give Andy Reid 30 minutes in a Rihanna concert, that's like giving him a bye week, man. And he dominates. He dominates after bye week, so he had all this extra time, and Andy Reid doesn't waste time. He went to work, and they figured it out, and the 2 plays they scored touchdowns on, the pass play to Tony and then the pass play to Sky Moore, he ripped them right off from Doug Peterson. I mean, there's video going around on Monday of one of the film expert who's like, you look what they did against Jacksonville, or what Jacksonville did against Philadelphia. Like in Week 7, it was the exact same play. So Andy Reid studied, past games and had all the answers, and he was ready to go. Again, that's why this guy is so unique and so dynamic as a head coach. Everybody's loving up Nick Sirianni. He just got taken to school by Andy Reid in the second half.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the offensive line, to me, that's where they won it with 0 sacks. But, they need to have a T-shirts or something made for no sack T-shirt there for all the sacks that the Eagles produced throughout the season. And maybe probably because they're in a lot of blowouts. And, Kansas City had a great game plan as far as their O-line. And sometimes tight end and, staying in, but also guys winning one-on-ones.
Yeah, and it's incredible, too, because that was kind of looked at as like the weak link for the Chiefs going in. Like, are they going to be able to pass protect? I mean, this 77 sacks or whatever it was, averaging 5 a game, Philadelphia coming in. and they had zero. I mean, and I've heard people blame the turf because the Chiefs' defensive line didn't get after it either, and
Right.
some people were blaming the turf for all that. Whatever the reason was, zero was the number that was there in that sack category. They protected Patrick Mahomes all afternoon.
Look, I love Mahomes, and I think he's the most gifted, talented quarterback really in NFL history, just on his, way he throws the ball, launch angles, and all these different things that he does. But does he seriously have a high ankle sprain? I've been there. I've had a high ankle sprain. Or does he just have an ankle sprain? Do we really know? Because it's kind of unbelievable what he's doing, unless the rehab
really
is just
is
off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, he did have the 2 weeks, after that Bengal game to kind of get better, but 2 weeks is not a lot of time to heal a high ankle sprain, and he's probably going to need off season. Like, he should have somebody just carry him around all off season so he doesn't have to, put any kind of pressure or anything on it, whether it's at the grocery store or whether it's at the facility or wherever. He needs to be just kind of carried around so he doesn't have to put any weight on that foot. But it's remarkable. I mean, that's one of the other things. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, people ask all the time, what makes Mahomes so special? It's like, I can't even explain what makes this guy special because nobody would believe it. It's like you're watching a movie at times. Like, here's a guy with a sprained ankle that most human beings can't walk on, 26 yards to slide down inside the 20 to set you up for the game-winning score. I mean, like, who does that kind of stuff? And it's just so hard to explain at times to people who aren't watching day in and day out of how magical this guy is. And that's really what it is. Like, he's got superhuman powers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm thoroughly impressed. I guess one more real quick. What does this Super Bowl win mean, not only to Mahomes, but also Andy Reid getting the second one as far as their careers?
I think it's huge for their legacies. I mean, it puts Patrick Mahomes solely in the category of the greatest quarterback in the game today. He's the greatest active quarterback, and when you start making a list of everybody who's won multiple Super Bowls, he's one of 13 that has won multiple Super Bowls. And then you start to look at those guys who won multiple Super Bowls. Well, he's better than Terry Bradshaw. He's better than Troy Aikman. He's better than Eli Manning. So you start to look at him and you start to put him, Ben Roethlisberger, he's better than him. You start to put him in these categories that are like, wow, he's like literally right now in year 5, a top 3 or 4 quarterback of all time, in the National Football League. And for Andy Reid, getting that second Super Bowl, he's on my Mount Rushmore of all-time coaches. It's Belichick, it's Reid, it's Walsh, and it's Shula to me. I mean, that second Super Bowl means so much from a legacy standpoint. Now, they run it back and they get 3 apiece and back-to-back Super Bowls. My God, we're talking about stuff that's probably never going to happen again in this league.
Bob Fescoe from 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City.
Hey, what do you think happens with Eric Bieniemy? I'll ask you that, Bob. And why has the next step not happened for him? You certainly would have much more knowledge about him than any of us would.
Well, I think what Eric Bieniemy suffers from is Patrick Mahomes' success and Andy Reid's success, and everybody just assumes it's those two guys that are doing everything, and nobody wants to give Eric Bieniemy the credit that he probably deserves. And so I'm hoping Eric Bieniemy does get a job somewhere where he is basically the head coach of the offense and can do his thing. I think Andy Reid said it best yesterday or the day before. He said something to the effect of, man, I hope Eric Bieniemy gets the opportunity to go somewhere and it becomes the Eric Bieniemy show and it's all about Eric Bieniemy, because I think he needs that. I think he needs to go away from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, go have success somewhere else, and then people will realize, oh, Eric Bieniemy is a legit offensive coordinator. It's not just Andy Reid. It's not just Patrick Mahomes that's helping, get his resume looking real good. He actually is really good. So that's what I'm hoping for Eric Bieniemy. I think he's grown as much as he can here, but I think he needs to have success somewhere else in order to prove to everybody, whoever that may be, that he's a legit, candidate to be a head football coach.
Is there a percentage of the time that he might call plays, a specific series or spots on the field? Is it all Andy Reid? Is there a mix? How does the play calling get doled out in Kansas City?
I have no idea, but as far as I'm concerned, it's Andy Reid, and every once in a while he'll say, I called the bad plays, Eric Bieniemy called the good plays, or whatever that means. Like, they're never going to kind of let you in on everything, but I think it's Andy Reid. I mean, you got a guy who's as good as calling plays as Andy Reid. Why would you let anybody else do it,
Bob Fescoe, our guest at Bob Fescoe. You can find him there on Twitter, Fescoe in the Morning 610 Sports Radio, Kansas City.
Well, my cohort there, Mickey, was discussing this yesterday, and I'm interested to see your thoughts. In their primes, Travis Kelce versus Tony Gonzalez. Who's the better player?
No, there's no question. It's Travis Kelce. I mean, he's the greatest tight end we've ever seen. I mean, he's just He's unbelievable. He's second all time in receiving touchdowns to just Jerry Rice. I mean, him
Yeah, I
as a
saw that.
combination with Mahomes and Mahomes and Kelsey, I think even past Brady and Gronk as tight end combinations. I don't know what it is about Travis Kelsey. He does the same thing every time, and nobody can stop it. He catches that ball, he fakes to the right, spins back to the left, and runs upfield every single time, and nobody's able to stop it. And he's getting better. I mean, 5-6 years ago, I was critical of Travis Kelsey. He was dropping balls in the playoffs. He wasn't showing up big when the games mattered most. And then all of a sudden, a switch flipped, and he's been nothing short of brilliant in the postseason right now.
Oh, wow, man. No doubt about it. I would have leaned towards Gonzalez. Statistically, in the regular season, I think Tony Gonzalez has more, right? Because I don't know if they went to the playoffs as much when he was there.
No postseason success at all, really, with Tony Gonzalez. And as great as Tony was, I look at Travis and I go, man, I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, there's nobody that can cover this guy. He's open all the time. And then when he catches it, he's able to turn and run upfield. I mean, he's just a remarkable football player.
Well, he kept using the respect card. Has anybody ever asked him, is it just from, media predicting against the Chiefs or Tyreek Hill before the season, they won't be any good and this and that, or won't, make it very far without him? Where does all that come from, or is they just using that for motivation?
Well, they got to be using it for motivation. It's made up. I mean, unless you're talking about Skip Bayless and some of the national people, on ESPN and whatnot. But I've been telling people since March this team was going to win the Super Bowl. I won over $1,000 betting in the preseason that they were going to win the Super Bowl. So I hear Travis say that, and I look at him and I go, Trav, I think you're making it up. But whatever works for you, man. Sometimes you got to create that mindset, to kind of get you to that next level and get you over the top. It reminds me of the University of Kansas. Every year the tournament rolls around, and every year they say, nobody gives us respect, nobody gives us a chance.
Yes,
you're the number one overall seed. What are you talking about? So sometimes you've got to just create faux, anger or faux, things that are going on out there to motivate yourself. And if that works for him, by all means, continue to do it.
Every time I seem to watch the Kansas City Chiefs, and mostly when they're playing the Titans, every time they get behind, in other games too as well, seems like they play their best from behind. You've covered them every week. Did you see any of that trend, or is it just the games that selectively I saw that they actually play looser and kind of wing it around a little bit more when they're behind?
No, they play great when they're behind. I'll go back to the Buffalo game. There's 13 seconds on the clock. My wife's on the floor crying, upset. Oh, my God, they're going to lose. I'm just sitting here going, it's 13 seconds. They've got 2 timeouts. We've seen this before. It's going to be just fine. And we all know what happened. They went down, kicked the field goal overtime, and won the game. Like, you're never out. When Patrick Mahomes has the ball with time on the clock, I've told people this for years. When there's time on the clock and Patrick Mahomes has the ball and it's within one score, they've got an opportunity to win. And more often than not, they find a way to do it. I mean, it's just that's how good they are. I mean, we're living a dream at times, guys, up here in Kansas City, where we're watching this and we're like, is this real? Will somebody wake us up eventually and say this isn't real? Because it's almost as perfect as you can get.
Man, the game was so good. I wanted to run it back, even though I don't even know what each team is going to look like. I know both quarterbacks are going to be there, so I want to see it again, man. Well, give us your prediction again, since you said it before the season. Chiefs going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, of course, Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. I also predict them to win 35-0 in every game. That has to be But no, I mean, they're going back to the Super Bowl. As long as Patrick Mahomes wants to go to the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is going to go to the Super Bowl. And that sounds ridiculous, but that's how he is. That's how he operates. If somebody tells him, I don't think you're going to make it to the Super Bowl this year, then he's using that as motivation, and he's going to find a way to get back to the Super Bowl. The NFC is going to be interesting. Both of those coordinators left Philadelphia today. Maybe they're happy the defensive coordinator left. I don't know. But they've got 20 free agents. And is Jalen Hurts good because of the guys around him, or can he make guys better that are around him? And that's going to be the interesting thing to see. We know Patrick Mahomes makes guys around him better. He doesn't need those superstars at the wide receiver spot to win a championship. Does Jalen Hurts? Will he need that? Will he be able to make guys around him better once he starts to get paid? I think that's the $100 million question.
Man, I got to ask you this, though. Do you think they should have called that holding on Bradbury?
Yes, it was a holding penalty. Yeah,
well, yeah. Obviously, he was holding.
Yeah, and he said it after the game. I mean, yeah. I mean, also, too, take the holding penalty out of it. You still gave up a scoop and score for a touchdown. You also gave up a 65-yard punt return that sets the Chiefs' offense up at the 5-yard line or whatever it is. That's 14 points you gave the Chiefs right there.
Well, I guess lastly, 2 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I don't know how many MVPs Mahomes has, as I call them, there in the regular season, 2. If he stopped today, would he walk into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot?
No question. And my friend, the late great Therese Paler, who used to be an NFL writer,
Yes,
passed
yeah,
away
we
a
have
few
more.
years ago. He said it after the first Super Bowl, maybe right before the second Super Bowl where they ended up losing in Tampa. He goes, this guy's already a Hall of Famer, and Therese was a Hall of Fame voter at the time. And so after he said that, the rest of me is just gravy.
There you have it, Bob Fescoe of 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City.
All right, before we go, 2 questions. People land in Kansas City, what's the first place they need to go to get barbecue? I know there are multiple options. Where do you tell people to go?
Smokehouse Barbecue, man. It is my favorite. It is the best. They have the best beans you will ever have. You land at KCI, you go down one exit to Barry Road, get off the exit, it's right there.
I think I've actually had the Smokehouse, to be honest with you, and I do remember it being pretty darn good. All right, here's the other one. Good Morning Football, which I think is a fantastic show. They did either yesterday, maybe it was yesterday, they did their Here's My Favorite Moment of the Season. My favorite moment of the whole season, I guess it was a preseason game, in honor of Leonard Dawson, the Chiefs ran the choir huddle and mimicked the way the classic Chiefs had huddled with Lenny Dawson. I tell you, Bob, I still get goosebumps thinking about that.
Yeah, it really was special to see that. The Chiefs have a really cool way of honoring Len. I had the opportunity to work with Len for a number of years, and it was obviously sad to see him pass away when he did. You wish he could have stayed on and lasted through the season and saw the Chiefs win another Super Bowl championship. But I know he's up there smiling down on everybody.
Well, I was there covering the Titans once, and he came in the bathroom when I was in there, and I just locked up. I was. And everybody says, don't talk to people in the bathroom, but everyone says, you should have talked to Lenny. Just wait till he's the nicest guy ever. So I should have talked to him because I always loved Lenny Dawson.
Yeah, he is a great human being, and you're right. He's just the nicest guy in the world. Just the nicest guy.
Well, it was cool to see them pay tribute to him, and fantastic season for the Chiefs. And I know you guys are having the time of your lives, and you're driving around Kansas City in your Bronco, living a good life. Bob, thanks for the time, man. We'll catch up again soon.
Get you some rest.
You got it. I'll be awake next time.
Yeah, you'll be awake. You got to get ready for that parade. When's the parade?
Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start broadcasting before 6 a.m. live on the parade route, man.
Oh, yeah. It's at Union Station or where they having it?
Yeah, it's going to come down Grand Boulevard and then finish at Union Station. It's going to be right where the draft is going to be, so a lot of people can kind of get a sneak preview of what the draft's going to look like.
Enjoy yourself, buddy. Have a great time.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it, Bob.
Sir, Bob Fescoe at Bob Fescoe. Fescoe in the morning, 610 Sports Radio, Kansas City. All right, it's that time of the week. It's Tuesday. What caught your attention in sports? Is it Super Bowl related? Is it halftime related? Is it all these Titans names of quarterbacks they're getting linked to? What caught your attention? 615-737-1045. Blaney Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
What caught your attention?
What caught your attention?
Ooh.
Halftime?
Well, yeah, Rihanna was pregnant. I think that was pretty obvious.
Hey,
right?
man, people have found videos. One of those dudes up dancing on one of those trays
They almost
fell off of it.
Yeah,
Remember,
saw
I
that.
said that I would not be up there.
Hey,
no
man.
way. I let Robert do all that stuff. He can get up there and dance.
Hey, man, I'm going to need some hazard pay if I'm going to dance on this tray in the sky over that slippery turf down there.
I would have loved to see Robert up there dancing, man. You know what I really wanted to see? I wanted to see him start spinning on his back and start whipping all up way up in the air. That would have been fantastic. So I would have saw him do that, especially in that moon suit they had on.
Robert probably has one of those.
I thought they was on the moon, actually, the way they was looking.
Some of them were pretty close to the moon before it was all said and done.
Ooh,
up there.
there's no way. I don't know. I don't know if they could have paid me enough money. I would have been shaking. I mean, shaking.
It's a hard no for me. No way.
Yeah.
Tom in Columbia wants to lead us off on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline with what caught his attention. Tom, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
What caught my attention on Super Bowl Sunday is my dear friend and my old high school teammate, Coach Barry Rubin, who's the head strength and conditioning coach for the Chiefs. That was his final game, fellas. That was his walk-off
What?
into retirement. Yep. After what now is his third Super Bowl, 2 with the Chiefs, 1 with the Packers. Coach Rubin has retired, and can you think of a better way to go out
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
and to win the Super Bowl in his last game after a Hall of Fame career, because he's a Hall of Fame strength and conditioning coach, and to walk off with the Lombardi Trophy? It just doesn't get any better than that, fellas.
Oh, man, that is pretty cool. How long was he with the Chiefs?
He's been with Coach Reed, so he was with Coach Reed in
The Eagles?
the Eagles, and then at the Chiefs, and I think they were first affiliated in Kansas City. And he just reveres Andy so much, and to me, he's just Barry. I mean, we grew up together, and bled and laughed and cried and fought together, and man, to see the pictures that he sent me, it's just spine tingling.
Yeah, I think he was
So-
there where I was in Philly with Andy. I think he was the assistant at that time. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think he was there.
And then
Andy, great guy.
he's elevated from there, and
Mhm.
he's just a great guy.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate the phone call. Yeah, he's
All
got
right.
one last parade.
Oh yeah, Union Station
Tomorrow
there.
morning.
So I'm gonna check that out too, because I want to see what they're having the draft. What it's gonna actually potentially look like. Even a little different, because it's not a parade. But yeah, good to see. Because a lot of people are not happy that Kansas City got a draft.
Lucas wasn't happy that Kansas City got soccer. He's still PO'd, but look at him.
Oh
He's sitting
Yeah.
there in the dark steaming about
Still a
that.
little bummed about that.
yeah.
Well, the Hunt family in soccer, you're not getting it.
No, that's true.
They like the first family of soccer, which people think, huh?
Yeah. And you're talking about the
what's
World Cup. KC is a host city over Nashville.
They got they got
that
for
was-
2026.
that was- Yeah, that's what he was.
So
But
no Nashville. Well,
I
that
still
was a tough
think-
day for our guy.
I still think if you're looking at a new stadium, assuredly being ready by 2026, Nashville would get it over KC. But you're right. The Hunt family is synonymous with soccer in
They're going to have
America.
to carry in some grass, though, like that
Yes, they
slippery
would.
slope that got drug in and out of the parking lot in Phoenix. I don't think there's going to be a big enough parking lot to park a slab of grass on here. I don't know. They're going to get field turf.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, that's what caught my attention. I was talking, the slippery slope. We might as well the players must throw in the white towel right now. Boom. With all the new stadiums, they are going to turf. They don't want any issue, especially if you're going to have events in these new stadiums or in stadiums just in general. It's just too hard to maintain the grass with different events, and you don't want something like that to happen again. The NFL will not let that happen. I'd be shocked if that happened ever again. So players, as much as you could say it's unhealthy, it's actually easier to maintain, and you know what the surface is going to be. It's going to happen. Yeah, they cannot let that crap happen there. There's some people behind the scenes. Nobody ever. It is perturbed. I mean, lit down there at the NFL, and I know those people down there. Yeah, they are not happy. They are not happy about that. And so I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of these stadiums go to some form of turf, whatever it is. I don't know all the different categories of different kind of turfs. I'm not going to act like I'm a turf expert, but I am not. But I do know that it's easy to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yep, get ready, players. I'm sure the fans don't care. I mean, because now that I'm a fan, I could care less. But I know the players really, really do because I was a former player, and I actually concur with them. I didn't. My body, after leaving Houston to come here and play on grass, and the majority of the games are on grass, maybe 2 on turf, there was a drastic difference on my body.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to explain that part of it. It might have really saved my knees and ankles because I got scoped, and I literally believe it was all because of the turf. Yeah, I might not have been able to keep playing to that level. Yeah.
That Astrodome turf, there couldn't have been much to that.
It was concrete.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible. Yeah, I was up there wearing volleyball shoes one time.
Did you bust out your Avias from high school?
No, no, they were they were Nike this time.
Did playing in the Super Bowl remind you of playing in the Astrodome, or were there or was that pretty commonplace around the league at that time, the AstroTurf?
It was pretty common. I just now that we were here in Tennessee on grass, and then for multiple years there, being in Memphis. Going back to Vandy, the turf, and then, you got to really see as a player, it was totally different turf than the Astrodome. Yeah. Now that I don't even, that's like, I'm going to tell you, the turf that was in the Astrodome was like where people go play golf.
It was worse.
Putt, like putt golf. Like it was literally nothing.
Like it hurt, so it was worse than the Super Bowl.
Yes, it was not even comparison.
And you had no pads except shoulder pads and a helmet. So every time you hit that concrete, you were just hitting it with all of you.
Yeah. I would say during those times, especially my rookie year when I was a special teamer, I really felt like I may think about doing something else. I'd hit the ground, and I'd be like, man, why is my whole arm black and blue? What did I do? Just fall down, get smashed. And, somebody knocked me down, and boom.
Insurance sounded pretty good at that point.
Boy, man, I was just like, I don't know, man. Yeah, that off season, that's when I was interning at Smith Barney. I sure did. I was definitely on that plane. Like this,
no turf in here.
Yeah, ain't no turf in here. Nobody hit me.
Yeah,
this looks really cozy. Until I couldn't pass that Series 7.
You get to like Series 5, maybe 6, but no 7.
I was like, oh, I think I better even turn it up a notch, or I'm going to be unemployed.
The hitman continued to be born.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I had to make some choices there, life-changing choices. This is going to affect me when I'm 60, or do I want to take this cash now?
All right, what caught my attention is this. There are all these quarterbacks who are out there, and all of them keep getting linked to the Titans. They all keep getting by one guy or another. So I know we got to take a break. Let's get into that on the other side. All these quarterbacks out there getting linked to the Titans who still have a quarterback. Let's talk about it next.
I want accountability in media.
It is 2:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The coaching hiring cycle in the NFL is complete for the offseason. It was officially announced by the team earlier today. The Colts have hired Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen to be their next head coach. The Arizona Cardinals have hired Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon to be their next head coach. Meanwhile, the Ravens have their new offensive coordinator. It is former Georgia OC Todd Monken. In Athens, Kirby Smart elevates offensive analyst Mike Bobo to replace Monken as the offensive coordinator. The Las Vegas Raiders expected to make the release of quarterback Derek Carr official this afternoon. The 31-year-old has received interest from a few teams, including the New Orleans Saints, and according to Ian Rappaport, the Tennessee Titans. SEC basketball tonight, Vanderbilt looks to stay hot and pick up a fourth straight win at South Carolina. Tip-off is at 5:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite Valentine's candy, Blaine Bishop? You like candy. I know you haven't been eating any because you, Buck and Ramon are getting all this press for losing their way.
Man. What should be on my candy list? I don't know.
Dropping a few pant sizes in here, too.
Yeah, mine is just getting off the couch to start working out. But I don't know, man. Chocolate strawberries, I guess. Yeah.
Chocolate strawberries.
Yeah, for Valentine's, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's me.
I bet Lucas has some elaborate Valentine's candy thing.
Yeah, really?
There has to be something to this. It's food. His whole thing is food. Look at
he
it.
loves food, but that's candy. I don't know. I think Robert would be a little more creative in his answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge sweet tooth.
I'll
always eat it if it's in front of me. I'll eat anything that's in front of me. But like I don't seek out the sweets as much as regular food.
Like a young Lucas Panzica didn't look forward to pounding his Valentine's candy in the Valentine's morning.
No, I didn't. I was more of a maybe it was because my mom. Maybe my mom conditioned me to eat healthy.
Okay, well, good stuff I heard. Now, Robert,
I didn't grow up eating a lot of candy either. By the way,
I will say this: I couldn't have much, but there was always some around, and like for Halloween, for Easter, for Valentine's Day, I would get some dang candy. Now, my parents were like, "It's a holiday, have at it, dude."
It's funny though. I would get all that, and then I'd sit it on the floor and act like I'm out, and I start picking through it, just the one things that I would want. And after that, I'm good. So I wouldn't most of it. But Robert, you got some candy for us?
I have no candy. I feel like I'm also the worst person to talk to about this because tonight, me and my girlfriend will be dining on the leftover Trash-A-Roll, which is a creation of my own doing.
Okay.
So let me explain Trash-A-Roll. It's a trash casserole. So everything that you do not eat on your Super Bowl party, you throw it in a big pan, mix it up, make a casserole. So we had a nacho bar, so we had ground beef, we had tater tot casserole, we had buffalo chicken dip, we had queso, pico,
I
beans.
like that.
I threw it all in a thing. And then crunched up the leftover chips as the top, and put it in the oven, bake it at 400 for like 15 minutes, and I have a whole tray of it.
Man,
we had wings too, so some squares that you crunch out, you might get a whole wing.
Oh my, that's what I was just about to ask. I know you had wings.
We did.
Oh man, that's a great way of not wasting food, right there.
It is, and so
I have to call you before my wife throws stuff away.
My girlfriend and I will eat it. My girlfriend was like, "Oh, what do you want to do for dinner tonight?" I've got kind of a late night. I figure we could just eat Trash-A-Roll. And she just sent me ... back.
Wow.
So I don't think she's happy with our Valentine's Day plans.
Oh, my.
You old romantic dog, you.
I gotta ask everybody on Twitter, man, the Twitter Nation, man. What's their favorite candy on Valentine's Day?
We'll get that out on Blaine and Mickey. You could also hit us up by phone, 615-737-1045. Here's the thing about like the hearts filled with candy. I had an aunt and uncle, and I'd go to their house, and they loved candy. And they, like childless people, loved candy. So you
I definitely had some aunts like that.
They got candy.
Mm-hmm,
so they're like, hey, man, it's no rules here. So here's my sister.
So they knew there was the rules implied in your house, right?
When you're here, just like the rules on a coat, you take it off and check it at the door. So my aunt and my sister, God rest both of their souls, my sister was 5 years older than me. she and my aunt would sit on the couch and take their thumb and mash every piece of Valentine's candy to see what was inside it.
Oh, right, okay.
You know, right? So you
The
mash
chocolate,
it. It's like,
yeah,
oh, it's caramel. Okay, I'm going to eat that. Oh, coconut. Nope, going to leave that one in the box. So we go over there and smash 100 of those things.
Oh, I love the caramel.
Oh, dude, all those got eaten first.
Yeah.
You know, the gross ones, like the one with coconut cream.
Yeah.
Those are just sitting in the corner, man. So Emmett says Kit Kats and Starburst when I was little.
Ooh, Starburst.
Lonzo says
I forgot about those.
Reese's Peanut Butter Hearts.
Oh.
I got a sack full of those for my wife. May have had a couple for breakfast.
Ooh, you know what I used to love? Sugar babies when I was a kid. Remember those? Remember that candy? Yeah, these young guys.
They don't.
They didn't even
Sugar
look or
babies?
respond. You
It was
remember?
just straight sugar.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I love those. Oh man, that's why I was running around really, really fast. I got hyped up on candy.
Boy. And then the Sugar Daddy, which was just like a piece of hard caramel on a stick.
Oh no,
like
you know
a
that's what
sucker.
I'm saying. My Sugar Daddy. That's what I'm talking about.
But the babies were like just small bite-sized versions of it.
Their daddies was the
That was
I
all
would just
good.
throw a whole handful in my mouth.
Do they
And
still
just
even make
boom.
sugar babies?
I
Do they
don't.
still
I
make
hardly
Sugar
ever see
Daddies?
them. Maybe on Halloween I'll see them for sale, but other than that, I hardly ever see them.
Well, that's the one time some of those obscure candies do make an appearance. Speaking of things that you love, maybe you love looking at quarterbacks who could be available for your team. So Jimmy Garoppolo, this got reported, Mike Garafolo. Some teams will have significant interest in Jimmy Garoppolo. Jets,
Garoppolo.
Bucks, Raiders, Texans, Titans.
What?
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh.
Rand,
okay.
old Rand ought to know him pretty well. So then I'm out walking around this morning trying to, drag my old body around some walking trails and get myself some exercise. And I see a handful of people tweeting this out. So Derek Carr, he had to approve some kind of a trade. He didn't approve a trade. By the way, we need to be watching Twitter because does he have to be released by today or tomorrow? Maybe it's tomorrow.
I think it's today.
So
Derek Carr?
it's today.
It's today.
So
right?
if he's still on the roster Wednesday, he's guaranteed $32.9 salary for next year and a $7.5 million bonus of the next year. So he is due $40 million. They owe it to him. It's guaranteed if he's on the Raiders roster. So he's not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So Rap Sheet was mentioning teams that might be a possible landing spot for him. He got mentioned to the Titans as well. Ian Rappaport. Oh, the Titans potential. There was a video.
Yeah. The Titans was the last team they mentioned.
Titans.
I was actually, I don't know how I felt about that. I was just like, well, he's just the same as Tannehill, but a younger version of Tannehill as far as the level of quarterback that he is. So I could see that potentially. My whole thing is, and I need Lucas, maybe even Robert to help me. Like when they come out and say the Tennessee Titans are interested in Derek Carr or Garoppolo. Mickey, you can tell me too. I don't understand. Like, do they get verification multiple, I guess, when they hear that, whether it's from an agent, the team, what have you? What is their cross checking? Because I don't think. I know that's his job, but he could just be giving his own opinion. I don't know if he is or isn't. I think that's my whole. There's no accountability there. Like we can't cross-reference anything. So I don't know if he's doing the same thing as well. So I just don't understand. Like, did he just hear it, or did it come from the Titans? Did it come from Tannehill's agent? I mean, or whoever's agent, Derek Carr Tannehill's agent could be like, hey man, they're trying to, they're looking for places for him. Keep his name out there, or Derek Carr, whoever, Garoppolo. So I'm always interested, and they're on TV. So they're national media, and people are living by what they say. So I don't know if that's true or not. I'm always a skeptic. I'm always like, well, let's verify this information that is true. Because if it was true or not true, then I know coaches aren't going to go out of their way every week. Be like, oh, no, we're not trying to trade Tannehill. Like, Vrabel's not coming out every week or every time somebody puts something out there like that. Unless he's actually trying to put that out there. So I don't know. So kind of explain how it's supposed to work.
There is no verification on that. Yeah. We will never know where Ian Rappaport got the nugget that the Titans are poking around about Derek Carr.
Right. Does he have to have two verifications or just one? Like, because an agent can actually say, hey, Oh, the Titans are interested in my client.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, it could be that agent. You know,
I think he could run with that. Like, if it's a big breaking news story, like, all right, this is who this team is hiring as the offensive coordinator. Like, you're going to want to double down on that, double confirm that before you go out with it. But if it's something as, flippant, I guess, or as passive as saying, yeah, here's a few teams that might be interested, then you have no idea. It could be it could be connecting dots yourself.
Right.
It could be an agent.
Okay.
No clue. No, it's like the Brady thing. It's like people are like, oh, Vrabel, Brady, Titans, quarterback. Yeah,
Right.
Titans are interested.
Right.
Or like so-and-so GM is taking calls about this pick. Like, yeah, he probably should take the call.
Yeah, so I've always fascinated. I'm just like, now that I'm in the media and I'm wondering, like, okay, does he get this information from people? At least 2 verifications or 3 to even put it out there? Or is this just more of his opinion and connecting the dots as Lucas just said? So what do you think, Mickey?
I would say this. I was when Gus Malzahn was coming to Arkansas State, I had somebody tell me that I trusted, hey, man, Gus Malzahn is going to come to Arkansas State and coach. And I was still on the radio then. I didn't work at Arkansas State yet. And I've always heard you need 2 people. You have to get 2 people to verify something. So 2 independent. So, like, if you told me something and Lucas told me something, that's probably true. I'm going to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find anybody else to verify it. Nobody. And
so you never said anything?
No, I finally called this guy back.
Well, you're on radio, so it's a little different.
Right, not Mike Garafolo or Ian Rappaport.
On national show, right.
So, and this is in a small farming town in northeast Arkansas. Right. So I called this guy back, and he said, go with it or don't. But it's go with it or don't. And he said,
but it's happening.
Go look at FlightAware, where you track airplanes. So go look at FlightAware. You know the planes that pick people up from Jonesboro if anybody gets picked up. So I went and looked, and a plane had left Jonesboro that was going to Auburn, which was where Gus was at the time. So that was my second confirmation. So I put it out, and then I drove my butt to the airport and took a picture of him when he got off the plane through a fence. So it was some of my best work. Grainy cell phone pic. Yeah, it was on the cover of AL.com that day.
Love some good plane tracking.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This is when you could really – this is before people started hiding the numbers.
Right, and then you didn't have social media, I'm sure, at that time either.
I did actually then.
You did?
Barely.
Okay.
That was new.
It just started.
That was
Hugh Freeze was like – what was he at Arkansas State, 2011?
2011.
Oh, yeah.
When did Twitter start?
I think I got my Twitter account in high school in 2010.
10. Yeah, I was going to say 10.
Yeah, but it was around
Before
a couple
that?
years before that.
Facebook before then, but Twitter for
Isn't that crazy? It's only been around, let's just say, 15 years.
yeah.
It feels that, man.
Well, I think I've told you guys it's the first time somebody said download this app. It will help you do your sports job. I downloaded the app. I was in Arkansas at the time, so this was 2010 or 2011, and I was like, I'll follow the Titans accounts because the NFL. Remember, there was a lockout at that time. And the first thing I saw Michael Griffin had tweeted, this was the first tweet I ever saw. I didn't even know how to retweet it.
Oh, I don't even remember.
He said, we went to work out at the facility today and they told us to go home. We are locked out. Basically, is what he said. I was like, the NFL lockout's on. Well, this was like having a crystal ball because it wasn't on ESPN or SportsCenter or nothing. But Michael Griffin said it. They told us to go home. We are locked out. However all that went.
And at the time, it's like, but did he put it on MySpace?
Oh, right. That was
with the guy
other,
in the white T-shirt. Yeah. So it's been a fascinating evolution for Twitter since then. But, I'm like Lucas. For him to just sit there and say, or anybody, well, this team may need a quarterback. This team may need a quarterback. But I'm always interested why they would pick specific names. Like if you say Texans need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But the Titans have a quarterback under contract, Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
He's still under contract. They haven't. So for him to say them, to me, there has to be something to it. Like you said, it could even be his agent. Because his agent's like, hey, man, get our name out there. Get our name out there. We may be available.
But nobody said Tannehill, just saying that the Titans are
may be interested.
Yeah.
And this is both of these guys from 2 different reporters.
Yeah. And I just like, man, it's somehow, some way, I believe it. But I'm like, okay, where are they getting this info from?
The world may never know.
Oh, we'll never know. But it's like I gotta hear more than one source, man.
We gotta get Rap Sheet on the show. We'll get him to give us his trade secrets.
He'll say you can rap that.
You know who could tell us? Maybe is Coach Mack. He's going to be on next.
Oh.
We could ask him how did they get this stuff. We'll ask him a bunch of stuff.
Coach is just coach.
Mac Attack coming up next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Hear that music, it only means one thing. It means Coach Dave McGinnis set to join us for what we call the Mac Attack. Oh, yeah. He is on with us now, Coach Mac. Happy Valentine's Day to you. How in the world are you doing on this beautiful February day?
Happy Valentine's. I'm doing really good. Just involved with once the Senior Bowl's over, kind of trying to dissect and go through that, and then get ready for the Combine. This is the big speculation season, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, man. So did you have a favorite kind of candy you like to eat on Valentine's Day? We were just discussing this, all these important things, Coach Mac,
Yeah, well, not really. Not really.
Even back when you were growing up?
I do like, though. I'll tell you this. I like chocolate and I like strawberries, and whoever invented chocolate strawberries is at the top of my list.
You and Blaine both. That's what he said. Who knew that, man? You guys are all on the same frequency there. I would imagine Andy Reid probably got some chocolate-covered strawberries because his play call in the second half, Coach, they were unstoppable. Nice. What a fun game to watch, and another Super Bowl championship for Andy and the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a very interesting game because the matchup, we talked about it before it happened, with you guys, and I thought the matchup was going to be very, very interesting, and it proved out to be. I mean, now, the one thing that I will say, and I think both of you watched this, and, as a lifetime coach in this league, I thought the playing surface was horrible.
Yeah, me too.
And so the playing surface being that bad, the advantage went to the offensive lines really quick. Because now, we all know Philadelphia with 70 sacks, and they've got 6 guys that can really go. You start watching, you go back and watch that game, which I did, and stop it at the top of some guys' rushes. They were losing their feet. It was really hard to get their feet. You saw of course, they changed cleats, but to me, the field conditions there for a Super Bowl, what they spent $800,000 in 2 years to get that turf ready. That was horrible.
What did you think of the defensive holding call at the end? I mean, most people have said, yes, it was holding. Some people say you don't make that call. Others say you do. What did you think about it?
It was a hold. The field judge made it. It's his call to make. The field judge is lined up about 25 yards deep. That's his first read is the nearest receiver to his side, and that's all he's watching until the ball's thrown. It was a hold. Was it egregious hold? No, but he reached out and grabbed him. Of course, Bradbury said he held him. I hated to see it called, but if holding is grabbing someone's jersey, how many times do you hear in practice, don't grab their jerseys? It was a hold, and it was a huge call because it finished the game. That's what it did.
Here's a big call for everybody. For 75 years, Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau health plans for their health care coverage. Why? Better rates, better coverage, better service. You can call them just like we call on Coach Mac every week for the Mac Attack on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Coach, you kind of mentioned it. Do you think maybe behind the scenes, we'll never know, but that both teams had to deal with the horrible field conditions, and I was really disappointed. I bet you that never happens again. I don't know. Maybe they'll just be always on turf at some point, but even though the players won't like it, that there's some maybe complaints from the Eagles side about the surface. They gave up. Kansas City had no sacks. Both teams had problems rushing, but to say that they had no sacks, it definitely was an advantage, as you mentioned, to the offensive lineman. How does that work when you're in a Super Bowl and then something like that happens behind the scenes, not being public about it, that you can kind of send emails to the NFL and have conversations with Goodell or whoever it may be to make sure those things don't happen, whether it's your team or not?
Well, it's over.
But for the next Super Bowl.
Well, for the next Super Bowl, first of all, it'll be a while before they have the grass growing outside in trays.
Yes.
And you're right, Blaine. But both teams had to play on it. But it's very obvious from the start. You even saw guys slipping when they got in the end zone, and they were slipping on the paint. They were slipping on the paint. But very early on, and it didn't take a very astute observer to see everybody was having trouble with their footing. Everybody. And in my humble opinion, that should never happen.
Yes.
Never, ever happen at a Super Bowl if you've got a controlled environment. And that is a controlled environment.
Well, Coach, I don't know this applies, but what they've won, Kansas City has won 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Would that be considered a dynasty in the NFL?
Well, not yet.
Okay.
I don't think so, but I would think that they're on their way. I would say this, that they've got a pretty good chance with what they've got going on with that quarterback and with the way, they're able to do things and manufacture things around that quarterback. And then, I mean, look, Blaine, you play defensive back in this league, and I don't care what they called it, corn dog. I don't care what you call it. You call it sting. You call it whip. You call it zap motion. Wherever you do, you've got to find a way defensively. If they haven't shown that a lot, they said they ran it against Arizona the first week of the season. But during the course of the ball game, if they're doing that, you've got to do something in the back end with it, and you know what you can do. You can always money that thing so that you can stay behind that thing as a trailer and have somebody come down from the top on the other side.
And slice it down. Yeah, they didn't make an adjustment. They was kind of showing what the Jaguars did against the Eagles, and it worked. And they just used that film, just kind of changed up the formation a little bit. So that shows you, how much homework, teams are looking at, because it's hard to make those kind of adjustments in the red zone as things are happening really fast, especially 10 and in. And they just didn't have enough. And those guys didn't have eye discipline, by the way. If you're going to be motioning and rocking and rolling with the other safety, with the corners, you got to stay behind. You should never be ahead.
You do.
So those are little bitty things to
is,
pay attention to me, that were really just kind of irritating me from a former defensive back to another defensive back. Like, dang, man, y'all got to have those kind of conversations. Then they came back and did it on the other side. So that means you didn't even communicate to your dude on the sideline in between series that what was going on. To me, that's kind of on the DB coach. Hey, man, let me relay it, because they're going to come back to that.
Well, no, it's on the coordinator and the DB coach.
Yeah.
Look, I was at a big Super Bowl gathering where I'm asked to come and speak, analyze, and anyway, all of that. So I'm watching it pretty close. And the first thing that's the first thing that popped into my mind. Well, they got burned once, shame on them. They do it twice, it's shame on you. And they very clearly, with all the pads and all the eyes they have now, you got to say we've got to money this, and we've got to get down in front of it. And it was all from a two-man stack look, whether it's in or out motion. It was from a two-man stack look where they had where the guy moved up on the line of scrimmage to top hat it. And to me, I mean, that second one was inexcusable. First one, they might catch you. The second one, that's inexcusable as far as, from a lifetime defensive coach just watching it.
Well, Coach, I guess before I pass it back to Mickey, what were the Chiefs doing in that second half? They were 4 for 4 as far as every time they had the ball, they scored. What did they do differently than the first half, or was it just they just executed better? Did you see anything that stood out to you?
Well, first of all, they got the ball.
Right.
That too. They didn't have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the ball much because, the Eagles were doing a tremendous job. And Jalen Hurts, I thought, had a marvelous game.
Yeah, he did.
The one fumble was immensely costly, but I thought that he had a marvelous game. I mean, to me, Jalen Hurts played an MVP game except for a fumble that ended up being a huge part of that game because it was a touchdown. But they controlled the football. When you got over the first half and you started looking at number of snaps, and really, Kansas City scored. They scored 31 points offensively with only 53 snaps. That's pretty efficient offense.
There you have it, Coach Mack giving us the Mack Attack from Titans Radio.
Coach, wanted to ask you about this. So salary cap cuts will probably start fairly soon around the league. What was that process like for the organizations that you were a part of? Because you finished the season, you're looking at the guys you're going to draft, you're scouting free agents. How much time and who all is involved typically in those discussions when you start talking about letting some of your own guys go?
Your general manager, it's your capologist, and it's your head coach. I mean, that's and they changed general managers, but that head coach, and they've known what their cap situation is for a long time, right?
Right.
I mean, they knew at the beginning of this season what the cap situation was going to be at the end of this season, and with all the injuries they had to redo Robert Woods' contract just to get operating income. So they have known what that cap situation is. So you ask me, when do you start thinking about that? I mean, you're aware of it at the whole season. Right. Now you've got a new general manager. He's pretty well up to speed on it too, because when Rand was at the 49ers, believe me, and he even had an inkling that he might be interviewing for this job once the job came open. He looked at this salary cap too.
Are you Are you meeting once a week or every other day? I'm just curious because we're all talking about, they got to get ready to draft these guys. They're all at the Senior Bowl. Then everybody's going to go to the Combine. I just kind of wondered, how does that fit into your daily life when you're making those type of decisions?
It occupies you. It occupies you 24/7.
Yeah.
Because look, you got other people that are doing other things too, right? I mean, it's not a one-man band in the National Football League anymore. You've got assistants to assistants, both in personnel and in the coaching aspect of it. But your decision makers this time of year, they're in contact daily.
Shane Steichen gets the Indy job. They interviewed everybody under the sun. They settle on him. He's a young guy. He's been in the league a little over a decade, Coach, but seems over the last 3 years to really have had this quick rise to obviously get all the way to the point of being a head coach.
Well, I mean, that God bless him. Look, those things are hard to get. There's only 32 of them, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, those things are hard to get. So if you get your opportunity, jump in there and grab it and see what you can do. I mean, he's got issues ahead of him too. Just about, if you change coaches, clearly you've got some issues. And so he's well aware of what those were, and he's had a lot of time to think about it. But there are only 32 of them, believe me. I interviewed for 3 of them, turned one of them down, and I knew the next one that came along, I could not turn it down because they don't come around to you often on the merry-go-round and those things.
Coach Dave McGinnis giving us the Mac Attack here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Coach, way too early, but which team you think has the best shot of returning to the Super Bowl?
Well, that's way too early. I mean, I would have to think so.
It's easy just to say Mahomes, right?
Well, you have a hard time betting against Kansas City. They've kind of proven that they can do it, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And they seem to be in pretty good. They seem to be in pretty good cap shape because they've been able to work around Mahomes' contract. They've let some guys go because of cap issues, but that quarterback, look, he made one of the biggest plays in the game, taking off running with a bad ankle. Go back to when the Titans played him. The biggest play in that game that won the game for him was on 3rd and 16 when he ran for 19, right? I mean, so the dude's pretty much money in big moments.
Right now, you've been in this league a long time, as we all know. But, man, when you watch Mahomes, who does he remind you of, or is he already just talent alone with his resume one of the best of all time?
Well, first of all, I think the guy has put together a Hall of Fame resume really early in his career.
Already. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I do. I mean, personally, and I don't have a vote, so it doesn't matter what I think. But when you watch him, I mean, he kind of reminds me a little bit about when Favre came on the scene because he was unorthodox, but he had an unbelievable arm. He could throw it from any launch point, and he was fearless. And when Favre first came on the scene, Favre could move. He could run and move. But I mean, I think it's just, and also I think it's just the attitude that he plays with. That just give me the ball with a little time, and I'll get it done. I mean, so I would say that when I went back in 2 years ago, I think we've talked about this, and looked at when I was vetting him come out of Texas Tech, and I wrote out, near the sideline of it, I said, reminds me a little bit of Favre coming out of Southern Miss.
Wow, that's that's pretty freaking good. He probably surpassed that at this point in time already in his career. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mac Attack from Titans Radio. I guess I want to ask you about Tim Kelly, and not about the hire, but what is your recall of him when he was with the Texans and you called the game there and watched him? I think you called the game there when he was the OC, at least one of the years he was the OC. And what were your thoughts on his play calling and sets that he likes to run? Based off of what we already do here, or Vrabel does with the Titans.
Well, the one game that I remember is when they had the big comeback.
Right, with Mills.
Yeah. And so I mean, he's a very, very, very creative guy. He's going to have his own way of doing things. At that time with the group that he had, he was running quite a bit of 12 personnel, but it was spread out. It was pretty innovative. But believe me, he's had a year or two to think about what he wants to do if he were to be named the coordinator here. And so he's going to have plenty of things that, along with his new staff, that he is going to want to implement and probably get them implemented pretty quickly. And also in time with seeing who he's going to have back and who he's going to have to start implementing those new ideas with.
How do you view, I guess, Burke's role trailing going into his second season, expectations and all that. Being that he showed glimpses of being a one, I guess.
He's got to be a dude. He is a one.
Mm-hmm.
Stays healthy. He is a one.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that. I mean, he was really, there was 2 times during, first of all, we know about the asthma and we know about the conditioning early on. He worked through that, came back and was really on a good track. Then he gets the turf toe up there at Indy. That sets him back. Then he comes back and is starting to have another great game, gets his face broke on a combat catch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So has to sit out for a while with that and then comes back in. Look, this guy's got everything that it takes. He just needs to stay healthy like the Titans do overall. Need to stay healthy. But he is the number one.
No doubt about it. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
All right, Coach, on the way out, I'm just curious as you and Rhett Bryan, because we'll start talking about draft prospects now. How many first-round graded players do you think you will have in this draft? Guys who have a legit first-round grade.
Well, I don't know yet. We haven't stacked we haven't gone through all of the positions yet. And we're a long way from stacking them.
All right.
Right now, of course, we just got back from the Senior Bowl, and we're going through that process. We just started now to look at the entire. There'll be 319 players at the combine. We're starting to look at those players. I'm starting to watch tape on those players. Once we stack them, as we get close, as we get back from the combine, and we start to stack them, I can give you an idea of what I think. But again, now look, you guys know this. A guy's a first rounder when somebody picks him in the first round, right?
Right.
So regardless of what grade I put on them or where Rhett Bryan ranks them, we're not picking anybody. But when you start to look at them, I will have a really good idea, like I've had for the last 6 years, about where they kind of line up when we start stacking positions. But we won't do that for a while. We still got a lot of leg work to do before that comes out.
Well, we'll start talking about all that leg work, I'm sure, in detail next week. Coach, thank you for the time as always. Happy Valentine's Day to you, sir.
Guy, happy Valentine's to you. Blaine, I hope you and I get somebody sends us some chocolate strawberries.
I know, right?
There you go. You know what they like now.
Appreciate it, Coach.
See you.
When we come back, fun with Jim Irsay. He's at it again. And Jerry in Cumberland has something that he wants to get into as well. Jerry has been holding. Jerry, we will come straight to you when we come back. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Calling all golf fans, time to gear up for golf season with the Nashville Predators on February 28th. Be caller 5 now to win tickets to see the Preds take on the Pittsburgh Penguins in Smashville. Golf and hockey, you can't beat it. 615-737-1045 for more info or to purchase tickets. You can visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Don't miss out. Caller 5, 615-737-1045. Derek Carr officially, per multiple sources now, saying he has received notice of his release from the Las Vegas Raiders. We will get to that in just a second. But Jerry in Cumberland City has been kind enough to hold. So, Jerry, you are up next on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline.
Hey, love the show, guys.
Thank you.
You know, Andy Reid is a super loyal guy, and I think Eric Bieniemy is also a super loyal guy. And I just wonder if he has kind of is the coach in waiting, because with the talk this year, I guess, of Andy Reid potentially stepping away. If he's just in that position where it's like he knows his number, he goes and he does the interviews because, as everyone knows, going and doing those interviews, whether you get the job or not, whether you're looking for the job or not, is a great process to kind of hone your skills. But if he doesn't meet that number and the situation isn't right, why wouldn't he just stay there with all of the tools? And regardless of whether or not he's calling plays or whether they're going to let that out, no one's going to ever say anything like that. Why not just sit there and continue to get that elite level PhD in offense and let it keep running?
Well, I mean, that's
That's basically what I said earlier. I mean,
yes, we had this
I
discussion.
might not even go anywhere. I mean, at this point in time, I think the point is, why is it getting nuts and bolts? I mean, here the whole time. I mean, so we can come up with all kind of excuses and make up for him, but he deserves every right to be a head coach, and maybe he's just bad in an interview. That's really all I can think of, And so, hey, so he's in a spot, and if you're gonna keep going lateral, to me, doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, we got guys who are quarterbacks, coaches, OCs who don't even call plays. If you want to say he's not part of it either, so they're getting opportunities all over the place. So it's a direct shot to him. The NFL is so desperate to win. They love winning. I think the owners don't really look at anything else besides that. We saw Downing, as I said, nothing was going to happen to him when he was here coaching, and nothing has happened to him in the offseason, and nothing was going to happen to him, and he got another job. So, there's only so many jobs, and they want to win so bad, they look past that. And for whatever reason, they haven't done that for Eric Bieniemy. I don't know. We were looking up his whole history. Back, I think 93 was his last time he got in some trouble. His arrest, which the other one was kind of ding-dong college type stuff, if you want to give it that. But he put his hands on a lady's neck, and then him and 3 other guys, I don't know, not at the same time, but outside of that, then urinated on the sidewalk or something. So that's the only thing we could come up with, but that was in 1993.
93. And then there was this is Wikipedia, take it for what it's worth. Then in April of 2001.
01,
which is 22 years ago.
So there was another incident.
He got a DUI at that point.
Well,
but again, that's 22 years ago. So there's been nothing since.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to find a reason not to hire, we all know how that all works. I mean, you can find all kind of things to say, good or bad or indifferent, even when you hire somebody. So, look at the draw. That's why I think a lot of rumors about that. And I was hearing them too, that Andy Reid was going to retire after the season if he won the Super Bowl. I think that's why he was asked that question too, by the way. So it got out there pretty, even, Kansas City and national guys. That was a thing. And so, yeah, sure, if they would have me.
Mm-hmm.
If I was him, I'd be like, I'm about to chalk up. I think I can win a couple more of these things with Mahomes. I don't have to do too much coaching. I got Eric Bieniemy on my right. I got Spags on my left. They're not going nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
You said same strength and conditioning guy? I mean, my people are in place. Yeah. My strength is conditioned and strengthened. Yeah. So.
And the head trainer, Rick Boharter, was at the Eagles when I was there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. These dudes are good. They're good at their job.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The Chiefs rolled into that game, took care of their business. Mentioned this, Jim Irsay. So Colts introduced Shane Steichen today as the head coach. Jim Irsay, as part of the festivities, mentioned hiring an offensive coach. This is the quote: "Knowing we're going to have to find a young quarterback to develop." It said Chris Ballard's head whipped around as he said it. And then later on he added, although that Alabama guy doesn't look bad, I'll tell you. So Jim Irsay just continues to leave it all out there.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they have, number 4 now, Lucas? Is that where the Colts are in the draft?
Yeah, they're 4. Yeah, Bears, Texans. I can't remember who's 3. Yeah, they're going to be in the hunt. They're going to get one of them.
Cardinals are the third.
Okay.
Cardinals are 3rd, yeah.
Oh, they got a new coach, and they're not going to draft a quarterback.
Mm-mm.
They got the guy that I heard someone call Baby Yoda. Someone said he's the same size as
Kyler
Baby
Murray.
Yoda.
And he won't be available at the beginning of the season from his torn ACL.
Ooh.
That's what they're saying. Must not forget, Baby Yoda tore his ACL.
He sure did. He can't levitate around the field. And that dude is magic, though. Him running around, but watching that game and knowing how he plays and seeing that, it's like, oh, man. It was the whole thing. Nobody touched him. He crashed into the ground.
Crashed and burned.
You sure did. All right, it's time for us to crash our way out of here. 3HL, they got you coming up next. They were at the Super Bowl last week and back in Nashville and ready to get after it today, I'm sure.
But in the meantime,
In between time.
peace.